Today's daf is daf Yud Tes, and we're ready now for Rav Chisda, which is the end of the second line. And Rav Chisda is making an attempt to explain the shita of Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir says that the Eidim are not believed to say that Ksav Yadenu, who said we indeed signed the shtar, but the shtar is possible. And the Gemara doesn't understand why it is that they can't claim anusim. That seems to be a valid claim. The Eidim were compelled under duress to sign the shtar. Amar Rav Chisda, Kasav Rabbi Meir, Eidim sha'omru lem chismu sheker v'al tehargu, yehargu v'al yachtemu sheker. We're back to the problem of Eino Demesim Atzvo Rocha, because if the Eidim, by their own admission, signed the shtar falsely, even under duress, even under threat of death, they're in violation of the requirement of Yeharg al Yav. Amalei Rava, so Rava turns to Rav Chisda and he says, what are you talking about? Hashta. Ilu asu lekamon limluche. Let's say a person was under duress with a gun to his head, sign a false document, or I'll knock your block off. And such a person would come to the Bezdin to ask the Bezdin, what should he do? Amrina lahu, no doubt we would tell him, Zilu, go ahead, Chasumu, sign the shtar, even though it's a fabrication. Velotis katlun, and don't give up your life. The Yomamar, ein lecha davar ohamed mipnei pikuach nefesh tel avodas kocham gilavai shvichas dam bilvad. So although signing a false shtar is a terrible thing in and of itself, it's certainly a violation of Isur Sheker, Lo Sana B'Yached Shoker, but nevertheless, it's not one of the three averos for which we have to give up our lives. So therefore, Hashta Dechosmu, if they under duress signed the shtar, Amrina Lahu Amai Chasimu? Chasmisu, why did you sign it? We're going to say, what, you're making yourself into a Russia. Why would you sign a false shtar? We can't believe it. Ella, therefore, the Gemara clarifies time of the Rabbi Meir. Why aren't the Eidim believed to say Anusim Ayinu? Get Rav Huna Amarav, the Amarav Huna Amarav Modev Shtar Sheksavo, Ein Tzarech Lekaimo. If Ruvain the Malva produced a shtar against Shimon the Lova, and the Lova says Parati, I already paid it up, implying that the shtar is a perfectly valid shtar, but I paid up the chov, is Ein Tzarech Lekaimo. There's no need for the Malva to go to Bezdin to try to achieve a Kiyum Shtar. He doesn't need to do so because this shtar is being used against the Lova, and the Lova himself admits it's a perfectly valid shtar. So by virtue of his own admission, the shtar is Mekuyah. There's no question about it being a counterfeit because he himself admits that the shtar is a valid shtar. Novasi claims parati. And this is the sheet of Rav that Modev Shtar Sheksavo Ein Tzarech Lekaimo. Even though the Lov has a great migu, he could have said, Lo Hayidvar Molam, I never borrowed any money from you. This whole thing is a ziyuf. It's a fabrication. It's a counterfeit. So believe me when I say that I paid you back. Nevertheless, we're not going to believe him with that migu. Why? Because starcha b'yodcha my boy. If you really paid it back, why am I, says the Malva, holding on to the shtar? So we don't accept the argument of the Lova, and Rabbi Meir therefore says that the shtar is virtually mekuyam when the Lova claims parati, I paid up the chov, and now if the Eidim come and claim anusim ayinu machbas nefashos, then they're coming to invalidate the shtar. But the shtar has only been validated by the Lovan. And not only that, how could you possibly believe the Eidim? You want to say a peshasa peshahita for the Eidim? Well, it's not a peshasa peshahita because the Lovan himself was Makayim the shtar. So basically the Malva is holding on to a shtar makuya. And that's a full-fledged, valid shtar. And if now the Edom come along and say, Anusamayinu, and we sign the shtar under duress, and it's not a valid shtar, how could they be believed? If they want to claim as Edus, we have a principle called Eino Chozer Magid. And if they're going to claim, well, we have a Pesha, they don't have Pesha because the Lov admitted that the shtar is a valid shtar. So at this point, the Gemara doesn't really seem to have settled down calmly with an explanation for Rabbi Meir in the case where the Edim are testifying. No, I'm sorry. Let me correct myself on that. At this point in the sugya, the Gemara seems to be calm, that we understand even in the case of Anusa B'Yidim Achmas Tefashos, the Edim are not believed. And that's because the shtar is already makuyim by virtue of the lovus hodah, and in a shtar makuyim, they don't have a peshasa peshahitir. As far as edus, they can't testify that they were anusim because that would be a violation of kevan shegit shuvin echosur mag. The chachamim rejected Ra, according to them, even though the love was mod on the shtar, and he doesn't deny that the shtar was written. Nevertheless, the malva has to be Mekayim the shtar. And if the malva is not Mekayim the shtar, then the lova should be believed with a migu. And he says parati, he could have said lohayid var molam, the whole thing's a bluff. And it's a shtar mezuya. And we're up to Gufa. Amar Avun Amar Rav, modav shtar sheksavo, ein tzarich l'kaimo. We're not going to believe the love in his claim parati, and even though the shtar is in a makuyam, he'll have to pay the debt written in the shtar because modav shtar sheksavo ein tzarich l'kaimo. His hodah, when he claims parati, is itself enough to be v'kaim the shtar. Amalei Rav Nachman, Kenuve lamalach. Why do you set it up and formulate it as if no one would even doubt this, as if you said it like it's a stomach, without mentioning the dissenting view, and you give us the impression that everybody would agree, but rather Svir Loch Rabbi Meir, Ema Halacha Rabbi Meir. Why not be honest and forthcoming? You are basically paskening in a machlok shin l'chacham Rabbi like Rabbi Meir. So why do you set it up that this is the halacha? Modav shtar sheksavo ein tzarich l'kaima. That reflects the sheet of Rabbi Meir. So you should have said halacha Rabbi Meir. So Rav Huna responds to Rav Nachman, Umar, and you Rav Nachman hechi svirle. Do you reject Rav? Do you paskin la halacha like the chacham that modav shtar sheksavo tzarich l'kaima? Amalei, Rav Nachman responds to Rav Huna without surprising him, and he says, "You're right. I hold that modav shtar sheksavo tzarich l'kaimo, and I rejected the psak of Rav. And not only that, ki asu l'kaman, when a malva, he says in the plural, any malva, like all the malva, any malva that comes in front of Bezdin with a shtar, lidina." And the lova is moda that the shtar is a valid shtar, just he claims parati. Amrina lahu, we tell the malvim, zilu kaimu shtaraichu vechusu ledina. Bring edim that signed on the shtar and are able to authenticate their signatures, and then come into Bezdin. Because if you don't authenticate the signatures, then the lova will be believed to say parati with a migu that he could have claimed mizuya. And basically, it means that Rav Nachman accepts the psak of Rav that modav shtar sheksavo tzarich l'kaimo. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Marav, ha'omer shtar amana huzeh. What's a shtar amana? Sometimes the lova has a plan to borrow money from the Malva, but he doesn't want to get stuck at the last minute when the Malva is willing to extend the loan. And guess what? We have to write a shtar and go through the whole thing. So in order to guarantee that the shtar is already prepared, it's a pre-prepared shtar, he writes up the shtar that says he borrowed money from so-and-so. He asks Adam to sign it. He gives the shtar over to the Malva, and he didn't even get the money yet. But he has emunah, and he has faith relying on the future Malva that he won't claim anything based on the shtar until finally he extends a loan. And now the Adam came into Bezdin. Well, we don't know actually who came into Bezdin. That's going to be the whole sugya here. And the claim was that this shtar is a shtar mana, which is a shtar apostle, because it's not testifying on alva. There never was alva. So the Master Kamerman, who's the one? There are three possibilities. Who's coming into Bezdin saying this is a shtar mana? If the loaf is saying that this is a shtar amana shita, certainly it goes without saying, I don't need Chidush Torah, that he's not believed, because the Malva is holding on to the shtar. Kol Kemine, should the Lova be believed to say that this is a shtar amana, it's a shtar puzzle? And in the footnote, he quotes the famous principle of Reish Lakish, Eidem achsuma shtar nasik misha nechkarei dusam v'bez. The shtar is reliable as Eidus b'chsav, and to say, no, the Eidem didn't see the halfa, and it was only shtar amana that was given over to the hands of the Malva, all that is against the shtar. The shtar says explicitly that Levi, that we'll call him Shimon, borrowed money from Reuven. So now we have another possibility. The Ella de Kamar Malva. The Malva himself, I call him the Good Samaritan, admits that the shtar that he's holding on to is not a valid shtar. The shtar that he's claiming that the Lova borrowed money from him, it was a shtar amana. It's Tavala Bracha. That's great. Why do you say Omer shtar amana who say no neman? Sure, Sully's neman. He himself admits that it's a shtar amana. So now we only have one possibility left. Ella the Kamri Edim. It's the Edim who are admitting that the shtar, or claiming that the shtar is the shtar amana, and we don't believe them. So the Gemara clarifies this. If the shtar is the shtar makuyam, and Bezdin writes on the shtar a henpek. Henpek is, they put the seal that this is a perfectly reliable shtar. So if it's ksav yodam yotzim makom, we could do a comparative study of the signatures, and then we can establish that it's not a fabrication or counterfeit, but this is really their chasimas on the shtar. Is pshita lo mehemni. For sure, the Edom are not going to be believed to say a word about the halva or about the shtar. We have a principle called Kevan Shehigid Shuvei Chozur Magid. And again, keep in mind, there's no Pesha Asar here because Tzav Yodam is Yotzim Makom Acher, so the shtar is Mekuya. We don't need these Eidim. So when the Eidim themselves come into Bezdin and say shtar Amonus, Kevan Shehigin Shuven Chozur Magid. And again, there's no Pesha Asar here clearly because there are the shtar is the Mekuya. But the ein ksav yodam yotzim makom acher, which means that now the Edom have a peshas and peshahit there, is amaylo mehemni. Why does it say here that he's not believed? He should be believed with a peshas or a peshahit there. Because it's ein ksav yodam yotzim makom acher. and the shtar is therefore not valid. Unless you mekayim it. So the Eidim should be believed with a peshasu peshahitir. So on this kasha, we're going to now learn three different answers. Rava, Abai, and Ravash. Let's start with Rav. And again, the goal here, let's just reiterate, is try to figure out this ruling of Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Rav, that Omesh Taramanu Ze Eino Nem. Liolam Deka Omar Love. The Love is claiming that I had the shtar written, I authorized and commissioned the writing of the shtar with the signatures of the Eidim, but not because I got the most. I just wanted to give the Malva the shtar so that in event that I need the money, he will extend to me the loan immediately, urgently, without hesitation, because he has a shtar. Kid Rav Huna. Now you're asking, what's the Chiddush Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Rav? The answer is Kid Rav Huna. The Omer Rav Huna Rav Hamod V'Shtar Sheksavo Ein Tzarich L'Kaimo. Once the Lova says Parati and therefore admits that the shtar is a valid shtar, even though he has a migu that he could have claimed Mizuyov, nevertheless, we don't believe him. Why? Because the shtar is Makuya. Why is the shtar Makuya? Because the Lov admits that it's a valid shtar and a valid loan, and it took place, and he owes the money which he's running to give back to the Mal. So this is a very brilliant interpretation of Rabbi Yehuda Marav offered by Rav. Because if you want to know why the Eidim are not believed, it's because the shtar, even though it's not Makuyam, it is Makuyam, based on the Hodas Halov. And now for the Eidim to come and testify that it was a shtar amana, as if to say there was never a loan, when the Lov himself says it's a loan, just that he claims he paid back the loan, that's nonsense. Abai Omar Liolam to cover Malva. Now, if the Malva admits it's the shtar amana, as the Gemara calls it, Tavel of Bracha. So what does this mean, Eino Nema? Kegon shechav lacherim. When does a person have the credibility regarding himself to admit that he owes money? Or in this case, not that he owes money, but that no one owes him money, meaning the Malva admits that the Lova does not owe him money. And that's why the Malva says this is a shtar amana, but there was never a loan. That's called chav lacher. Isn't that really interesting? You have a Malva who admits that the Lova doesn't owe him money, and that's called chav lacher, based on Shibud Rabbis. Okay, let me just organize my stender for a second. Okay. So again, The approach of Abaye is to create a structure called Hodas Baldin b'makom shechav lacher. So the Malva concedes that he has no claim against the loan. And basically he wipes off the shtar by admitting that the shtar amona. And we want to embrace him. Tovel of bracha. He's admitting that he has no claim against the lova, but it's chav lacher. Ki Rabbi Nosson. The Sanya Rabbi Nosson over minayin lenoshe b'chaver v'chaver b'chaver minayin shmotzi mizeh v'nosim lezeh. It's called Shibuda de Rabbi Nosson. What happens is that Shimon borrowed money from Reuven, and Levi borrowed money from Shimon. So Reuven is the noshe b'chavera, meaning he has a debt that he wants to collect from Shimon. And he can't collect it from Shimon because Shimon is penniless. However, Levi borrowed money from Shimon. Levi owes money to Shimon. Now Reuven wants to claim his loan, collect his loan from Shimon, but really collect it from Levi. Levi says to Reuven, Lav bal dvarim didiyat. I never borrowed money from you. I don't know you. I never met you. I never heard of you. I borrowed money from Shimon. And now Shimon is in a very critical, unique position because Shimon is going to be the link that allows Reuven to collect money from Levi. Because since Shimon is Meshuba to Reuven and Levi is Meshuba to Shimon, therefore, according to Rabbi Nosson, Levi is Meshuba to Reuven. It's really fascinating that Levi owes a chov to Reuven. Even though he never met Reuven, he never borrowed a dime from him. This is based on a pasuk shenemar Tamid Lomar v'nasan lasher Hashem lo. And this is a pasuk in Bamidbar Hay, in the chapter of someone who denies a claim and he takes a shvuah. And the Torah says that once we find out that he perjured himself, he lied under oath, he has to pay back the money that he stole, and he has to add another 20%. But the pasuk doesn't say, V'nasan lasher hilvahu. Let him pay up to the person who lent the money. And he had denied the chov, took a false oath. Instead, it says, V'nasan lasher Hashem, a very strange kind of language. And Rabbi Nosson now interprets this word Lashem in the following way. That the second lover, that's Levi, all the way at the end of the chain, he has to pay his chov to Asher Hashem lo. And the word Hashem here is translated, is interpreted as Keren Shalom. The Keren, whose the original money is his. And who is the Misha Keren Shalom? That's the Malva Rishon, that's Reuven. Reuven had lent money, extended a loan to Shimon. Reuven is the Rishon, Shimon becomes the Sheni. Shimon extends a loan to Levi, Levi becomes the Shlishi. And now Levi, in a case where he denied the claim, and he took an oath, and now we find out that he, et cetera, now he has to pay up. Who does he pay up to? Not to Shimon, but rather to Reuven, Lemisha Keren Shalom. What it means is if Shimon does not have the money to pay, if Shimon doesn't have the money to pay Reuven, then Reuven has a recourse to collect his chov from Levi. So therefore, when the Malva confesses that this is Shtar Amona, and you would think, as we said before, give me Yashakayach, because he's admitting that he has no claim. If he is Shimon, the middleman, then his Hodah is Chav Lacherim, is Chav to Reuven, because now Reuven, if you accept the Hodah of Shimon, no longer has a claim against Levi. No longer does he have a recourse to get back his money. That's a buy. Now we're up to the third possibility, and that's going to be Rav Ashi. Got a little bit of an allergic attack here. Rav Ashi Omer Liyolam Tekamri Eden. And V'ein Tzav Yodnam Yotzim Mokam Acher. So now the Edom should be believed with a Peshas or a Peshahiter. And the answer is, we don't have a Peshas or a Peshahiter, Kid Rav Kahana. The Rav Kahana also lo liodom Chiyakshet Shtar Amona V'Beso, Mishum Shenemer Al Tishkom Be'olecha Avo. When the Edom testify that this is a Shtar Amona, then basically they are making themselves into Rishayim by their own admission. And we have a principle called Ein Adam Mesim Atzor Rosh, because a Shtar Amon is absolutely prohibited. And that prohibition is derived from a pasuk in Iyov. What's the avla here? We're afraid that if the lover writes a Shtar Amon to the Malva, the Malva is holding on to that Shtar, he may inadvertently use that Shtar to collect from the lover when he never even extended a loan to the lover. And here we turn to Daf Yud Tes Amid Beis.